All righty. Now, let me get my screen up. Give me 1 second. Hang on a second. Takes me a second to get that all together. I have to get that set to play first. Then we'll share it. All righty. Whoop. I'm assuming that everybody can see the screen. Hi, Rose. Nice to see you.
Hi, John. How are you? We had a power outage. Didn't think I was going to get in.
Yeah, we have one here too. I'm actually on my generator. That's.
I don't have a generator.
Yeah, you spend too much money on cars, kid.
That's right.
All right, did everybody see the video okay? All right, perfect. Okay, so welcome to our boot camp for full self-driving. This class was developed actually by none other than Mr. Jeff Cadman, the VP of the Tesla Owners Club of Maryland, along with Ken and myself from the Tesla Owners Club of Pennsylvania. One of the reasons that we're able to present these classes and continue to present them for free is we've now picked up a few sponsors. So, and this is really helping us to offset some of the costs. So we've got 2 sponsors for tonight's class, actually 3. We've got Drive Electric PA. We have the folks at Scenic, and we also have Immaculate Paint Protection, are all sponsoring tonight's class. We're going to actually see, there's no free lunch, guys. We're actually going to see 2 1-minute videos about our sponsors, and then we're going to get into the class. So welcome, everybody. Glad you guys could be here. First, let's talk about Scenic.
This is Tesla Model 3, and this is Tesla key card, which I don't need today because I have a very special Tesla edition knickering here, which enables to open and close the doors with a single tap of the finger. Let's open now and see inside how it works. Now to start driving, I have to push the brake down and to tap card here, but instead of card, I will tap here now my ring. It now enables me to drive. Let's go.
So this is actually a great product. We won't accept sponsorships from people that we haven't vetted to an extent. I wear this ring all the time. I've used it for quite a while. It's flawless, and every time, as we all know, our phones decide not to open the car, it's great having the ring on my finger. They also sell bracelets for ladies that would prefer wearing a bracelet instead of a ring. So if you're a Tesla, if you're a Owners Club member of Pennsylvania, you also get a 15% discount on their products. So, and you can find that on our discount membership page. So again, try and support the people that support us. So. And finally, just a word from Bill over at Immaculate Paint Protection.
Protect your vehicle today from damage tomorrow. Do not drive your brand new vehicle until you watch this.
Rocks, stones, gravel, and grime, sand and salt can be stopped from attacking the finish on your brand new vehicle.
This is what supercar owners do. Now you can do it too.
Your vehicle is an investment worth protecting. Your brand new vehicle will stay cleaner. Years from now, your friends and family will still think you just got a new vehicle. It is easy to do. Immaculate Paint Protection will protect your car, truck, or SUV, saving you time and money. Transparent, hassle, and haggle-free pricing, unmatched quality, and exclusive service are provided for every client. The mistake you'll make is not acting sooner. Click the Get It Now button before you drive. Protect your vehicle today from damage tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, Immaculate Paint Protection is in the Eastern Pennsylvania area, easily covered from Philly, King of Prussia, Allentown, anywhere around that area if you guys are over there. The guy does a great job and has been a really big supporter of the club. So now we've got that out of the way, let's get into what we're going to do tonight. So first of all, we're going to talk about FSD, obviously. Oh, okay. Sorry, Spencer, the ring. I have a question in the chat. Let me just deal with that real quick. The website address is teslaring.com. I just put it in the chat for you.
Okay.
There's no space.
I'll try and keep up with it, John. You push ahead.
All right. Thank you. All right, Jeff. All right. So, yeah, I would ask that everybody stay on mute. If you have a question, post in the chat either your question or the fact that you have a question, and we'll call on you and have you come off. But this way, we won't have everybody stepping on everybody else, because we've got at least about 20 people in here right now. So anyway, so what we're going to talk about tonight is FSD, or full self-driving. We're going to talk a little bit about the history. We're going to talk about how it works. We're going to talk about the features and differences between Autopilot and FSD. We're going to talk about its limitations, and we're going to get a peek at the future. Since we're fortunate enough that Jeff is here with us, and Jeff is a beta tester for the new FSD software. There's only about 2,000 owners, as I understand it, that have it. And Jeff is one of those lucky guys. Okay, so first let's make sure that we're talking about common terms. First of all, navigate on Autopilot. The definition of that is using what would really be full self-driving when you're on a limited access highway. It will actively guide your vehicle as long as you have a destination set, on ramps, off ramps. It'll suggest your lane changes. It'll navigate into changes. It'll automatically engage your turn signal, take exits. That's navigate on Autopilot. And that is on today. If you have the full self-driving package, you have that in your vehicle. The next one, auto lane change. Auto lane change just means that instead of you having to physically change lanes with the car, you can just tap the stalk and tell your car you want to change lanes, and it will engage and change lanes for you. Auto park, also part of this feature set, will help you automatically parallel or perpendicular park your Tesla vehicle with a single touch. Summon moves your vehicle in and out of a tight space, but only forward and backwards. Smart Summon, on the other hand, will navigate so that your vehicle will come to you when you put a spot on your phone and say, I'm here and I want you to drive over to me from where you are. And finally, traffic and stop sign control. Again, all this stuff is considered beta. Will identify stop signs, stop your vehicle. And it does the same thing for traffic lights. Will bring your vehicle to a stop at a traffic light. Again, all of this under your active supervision. Okay, so let's talk about the history of full self-driving. There are a number of different levels of full self-driving when we talk about autonomous driving. The first three levels basically mean you are driving the car. Levels 0, 1, and 2. You'll have some level of assistance from the vehicle, but you are ultimately responsible for what's going on, and you must drive the vehicle. When we get to level 3, that's where we start to get to the point. Where you are intervening less with your vehicle, and more of the driving responsibility starts to fall with your car. Right now, if I was going to put a number on where Tesla's full self-driving package is, we're basically between a 2 and a 3 right now. I think that's, Jeff says 2. I think when I'm on a limited access highway, it's closer to a 3. When I'm on local roads, it's definitely a 2. I would put it that way. That's why I kind of give it the middle ground. So we're still working there. The goal, of course, is to get to level 5, which means, you know, get in the car, tell it where you want to go, and wake up when it gets there. That's where we all want to be. So pre-autopilot. Again, when Tesla was first introduced, 2012 to 2014 models had no autopilot at all. They had no automated features, no adaptive cruise control, and no safety features. And I remember it because my first Tesla was a 2013 Model S, and it had none of those things. The Autopilot 1, AP1, was introduced September 2014, and it was around until October 2016. This was actually a pretty nice product. I had a 2015 Model S that had this, and AP1 was very reliable, very stable. You knew what it could do. You knew what it couldn't do. It had traffic-aware cruise control. It had auto steer. It could do automatic lane changes. It recognized speed limit signs. It was designed basically for highway use, though I'll say that I cheated and used it on back roads a lot also. It was a great product, but it was not a Tesla product. It was actually developed by a company called Mobileye. And Mobileye was an Israeli company that had developed this, sold it to Tesla. By 2016, the relationship between Mobileye and Tesla kind of went in the toilet. At that point, Elon decided that, well, we don't need Mobileye. We'll just make our own full self-driving package. And that was the introduction of AP2. So AP2, introduced in October 2016, for anybody that experienced it, my condolences. AP2 was a really tough product. Jeff, you lived through AP2, didn't you? Oh, you didn't. Oh, if Ken Levine was here tonight,
yeah, my Model S is 2013 as well. So
okay, yeah, Ken actually had a 2017 Model S with AP2, and it was a nightmare, and it was scary. I mean, you just never knew what the car was going to do. It had no auto lane change. It couldn't read speed limit signs because they didn't think of the fact that Mobileye owned the patent on the process of reading speed limit signs. So when they left Mobileye, they couldn't do that anymore. They did upgrade the onboard hardware. That's when they made the move to 8 cameras, 3 front-facing, 2 side front-facing, 2 side rear-facing, and 1 rear-facing camera, and the Bosch radar, which had actually been there with the Mobileye product too. In a very short period of time, you notice, by August of 2017, AP 2.5 came out. Now, 2.5 basically had the same hardware, the same cameras, but they for the first time added dash cam, Sentry mode, but they still did not have speed limit sign recognition. They could not cut a deal with Mobileye to license it, and they couldn't make it happen on their own without violating Mobileye's patent. And now that brings us to where we are today. And March 2019 to present, we've got Autopilot 3, AP3, or the full self-driving computer. This has 8 cameras covering all angles. It used to have the Continental radar. That is no longer part of the package. The computer is now a full self-driving computer that was designed in-house by Tesla. They actually designed their own chips, their own neural networks. They brought everything in-house. And also in the interim with that, Intel went out and bought the Mobileye company. And I believe that Tesla and Intel had a pretty decent relationship. And I think Tesla was finally able to license the speed limit sign recognition at that point. So just a brief summary. Autopilot and full self-driving are made up of these parts. So when we talk about full self-driving really contains all of all of this plus all of this. There was something called enhanced autopilot, which was introduced from 2016 to 19 and briefly for about 30 days last September, where you could actually buy this and this without the stoplight and stop sign recognition and without navigate on autopilot. But you would get summon and auto lane change. They're not offering that right now. It's possible it may pop back in again. But this is kind of the picture of what the products look like. As I said, if I'm going too fast, any questions, just pop in the chat. You got a question, happy to stop. We don't want anybody falling behind here. Okay, so with the exception of the radar, obviously we have not been able to change our slide yet, but with the exception of radar, this is how our autopilot and FSD systems look at the world. Radar was taking this piece of the puzzle. It's now all being covered by the cameras through something called Tesla Vision. But this is what gives our cars a 360-degree view around them. Okay, so what's going on when our cars are driving and we're on full self-driving and it's engaged? This is a little video just to give you an idea of what the car sees as we're executing that. And hopefully we won't have a problem. We've had some problems in the past sometimes with it crashing, but not tonight. It's going to be perfect tonight. All right, let's see if we get this running. Just look at all the indications and everything that the car has to be aware of.
Smooth like butter, John.
All right, of course it is. Okay, so if we take a look at this, you can just take a look at everything that the car is trying to keep track of. You look at every item, every obstacle, every line on the road. If we think about it that way, we realize that it's a very extreme process to be able to do this.
Let me point one thing out. Actually,
You want me to?
yeah, that first loop, when it, watch what the car does when it comes to the stop sign at this ramp. So we come to a stop and it decides, oh, I might want to go right. That still happens. And it sees a branch in the road. I don't know what it is, if it's the stop sign or it thinks like I might want to set up for a left-hand turn, but the car has a mind of its own. So that still exists. And this video has got to be, I think, a year old.
Oh, at least.
I think this is one of the prototype internal videos, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. We got a gift. But yeah, this is definitely some time back. But it gives you an idea of what's going on and what the computer's got to deal with in order to drive a vehicle. I mean, it's a very complicated process. So as impatient as I know everybody is for getting this out, this is certainly something that we don't want them to get wrong. We want, when this comes out, we want this to get right. You have a question in the chat, Jeff, if you want to answer that. Okay, so just another summary. AP1, these were the features. These are basically all the features that we're looking at. The one that we're waiting for right now is this one on the bottom. Auto steer on city streets. That's what we're expecting to get. Everything else, when you get basic autopilot in your vehicle, you get these two items. You get adaptive cruise control and auto steer. You don't get any of these other features. So let's talk about some functionality. And Jeff, you can stay off mute and feel free to pop in any old time, bud. Okay, so first, how do you operate autopilot? We can't say this enough to you guys. You cannot drive our cars without spending some time reading the manual. There's too much going on in these vehicles, and even if you drive the car fine every day, I guarantee you are missing out on features that our cars have, or capabilities that they have. And you're going to be mad, saying, geez, I didn't know the car could do that. So take the time to do this. And again, not if you're like me, when I first got my first Tesla 6 years ago, I'm used to having a printed manual. So I went and printed out the owner's manual, and then 2 weeks later got a software update and realized everything that I printed out was garbage. So don't bother doing that. You got lots of digital ways to access your owner's manual. That's the way to do it. The next thing you also need to do if you want to operate this is make sure that Autopilot and Navigate on Autopilot and Summon are all enabled in your menu system on the screen in your car. If you don't enable them, they won't be there even if you paid for them. By default, they're going to be off. Okay, so operating Autopilot, I'm betting that everybody knows this, but we'll just do it real quick. One stroke down on the gear stalk engages traffic aware cruise control. Two strokes down engages auto steer. You can never have auto steer engaged without having TAC engaged. It won't let you drive the car and use auto steer. It's not going to happen. And at the same time, be aware that you can disengage auto steer and traffic aware cruise control may still be engaged. So if you disengage auto steer by turning the wheel, you're still going to have your cruise control engaged. So be aware of that. In order to turn that off, you got to tap the brake pedal or go up on the gear stalk. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay. So Navigate on Autopilot is only available when you're navigating to a destination on a limited access highway. You'll know that you've got that engaged. If you notice here, you'll see the single blue line in front of your car. That tells you that Navigate on Autopilot is engaged. When you're on auto steer and you have no destination engaged, instead of the single blue line you see here, the sidelines of your lane will be blue. That's how you can tell the difference between being on NOA or being on auto steer. Auto lane change gets initiated with your turn lever. You just confirm when prompted by Navigate on Autopilot, or automatically if the option is selected. I do not recommend that you let the car make lane changes without you confirming it. This guy is here because I couldn't get over it.
I'm nodding my head in agreement. I have mindset to confirm lane changes as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Always confirm your lane change. It's fine that you hit the turn signal to do it. Don't enable the car to do that. This guy sitting here is Mad Max, and I was stunned when I went into my auto lane change settings for the first time and saw that Mad Max was one of the options. I'm not sure what it does, but I think you probably don't want to engage that one.
What it does is annoy other drivers on the road, and you will experience road rage.
Hey, John, real quick with that. I've tried Mad Max. Actually, it does it quicker like a normal person than Granny style auto lane change, at least in my Model 3 without the radar. If I don't use Mad Max and I do a regular lane change, it takes forever for it to get over. It is really slow. If I use Mad Max, it steers like a regular person.
I wonder if that's a Tesla.
Interesting. So you're saying it's the rate of lane change, not the frequency. I thought it was more like, oh, if I see a gap, I'm going for it.
No, mine's more the rate of the lane change.
All right.
From what I figured.
That's better.
Because if you do regular, it's like, okay, I'm looking, I'm waiting.
Very
I got my
cautious.
turn signal on. Yeah. If you do Mad Max, it goes, I look, I see there's nothing there. Okay, let's get over. Which seems to be more like a regular driver. And you're right, with the auto lane change, it will want to change for no apparent reason. So I do see it doing that. I'll be getting off an exit about less than a quarter of a mile, and then I'll notice that all of a sudden it wants to change lanes, and I'm like, no, I'm getting off real soon. So I turned off the auto lane change, so it doesn't annoy anybody.
Yeah,
Worth it. I'll give it another try.
I will too, actually. And that may be a Tesla Vision versus the older vehicles that have radar thing too. That's possible. Well, we'll check that out. I tried it once and said, I don't like this. I haven't touched it again, but maybe I'll try it again. Thanks for that, Spencer. Or Scott, right?
Spence, it's fine. It's good, John.
Okay. Okay, so if you have the FSD package, you also have Auto Park, which sometimes can be elusive, to say the least. But I have found that under the right conditions, it does actually come up and work. The right conditions being you can't be going more than 15 miles an hour to get a parallel parking spot. You probably better stay in below that. When the car sees an opportunity to engage Auto Park, you're going to see the gray P appear on your screen, like right here. So when that happens, if you press on the brake, shift the gear selector into reverse, start Auto Park will appear on your screen. You press the start button and let go of everything and let the car park. I have found it's a little fast for me sometimes. I find it, which is surprising. I actually thought it would be more cautious. I find it goes into the spot pretty quick. But at the same time, it hasn't hit anything or a curb, so I can't complain as long as it puts it in there. You could override Auto Park at any time, even if you start it, but simply by taking control of the steering wheel or pressing the brake pedal if you're not comfortable with the car's doing. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Summon. We look at two versions of Summon. I don't think Smart Summon is that a Tesla term? I don't even know that that's in the owner's manual. But anyway, we've always called it Smart Summon and Summon. So regular Summon basically says you can move the car forward and backwards. And if you look at the app here, if you click on the forward button here, the car is going to move forward. You click on the reverse button, the car is going to move backwards in a straight line for the most part, unless there's something in its way. With Smart Summon, you can actually set a destination, your location or another destination near you, and tell the car you want it to come to you. Now, that could mean pulling out of a parking spot in a mall parking lot and driving down a lane to get to you. I will say that in my experience, it has been less than 100%. It's the best way to put it. Do you have a better way to describe
I can count on one hand the number I've tried Smart Summon, and it's failed 100% of the time.
Okay.
It does something goofy where like it sees a curb. I mean, you don't want it to drive over a curb, so it's just going to stop and say, oh, come help. It's beta. It's beta software.
Yep. And actually what I did when I first got the car is I went to a big empty parking lot and just played around with it. Walked around the parking lot, tried to get the car to come to me, see what it did. The behavior was certainly a bit erratic. The follow me actually worked pretty good. So if I wanted to walk and have the car follow me, it would do that. but anyway, it's something to mess around with. We think it's going to obviously get a lot better because it's a great feature and could be very useful. Okay. All right. So traffic light and stop sign control, also a beta version of the software, is also part of our FSD package. So what this does is identify stop signs and traffic lights and will bring your car to a stop when you approach them. So the first rule is the car will stop at all traffic lights, regardless of whether they're green or red or yellow, unless there is a lead car in front of you. So if you're approaching a green traffic light and there's nobody in front of you, your car is going to ask you to confirm before it will go through the light. And you confirm by just tapping down on the gear stalk lever or touching the accelerator pedal. If there's a lead car in front of you and you're going through a green light, your car will go through that light and it will follow that vehicle. Okay? Stop signs, obviously the car will stop at stop signs and will wait for you to confirm using your gear stalk lever or the accelerator that when you want to go through the stop sign. Okay. So any questions about that? Okay, so we've got some standard safety features, most of which are active even with basic autopilot. And if you have a standard range 3 with no autopilot, these safety features are also still available. So automatic emergency braking, if it will engage your brakes if it thinks that you're about to collide with something, whether it's another car or an obstacle. Now, this may not stop your car. You still need to hit the brakes. What you'll find in this situation is you'll get a warning on your screen, like it says right there, emergency braking in progress. And when you go to hit the brake pedal, you're going to find the pedal is about halfway down already. So automatic emergency braking is really all about reducing your response time to those situations. So it begins the braking process, but you are always the one responsible for making sure your vehicle comes to a stop. I'm not saying it won't ever stop your car. I have seen occasions when it did stop a vehicle. It's done it in my car periodically, but it's never something I would count on. It's always your responsibility to stop your car. That being said, forward collision warning and obstacle is exactly what it says. It's going to look for for obstacles in front of you and give you a warning, but it's not going to take any corrective action. It's still your responsibility as the driver to take corrective action for that. And you can set how you want that warning to appear. Whether you want to get it early, medium, or late. Early, you could be 2 blocks away and it's going to start beeping at you. So find something you're comfortable with. Decide how conservative you want to be, or you can turn it off altogether if it bothers you. I've actually been getting some phantom forward collision warnings lately, which I've never seen before, where all of a sudden it thinks that it's warning me about a collision when I'm driving on a road with nothing in front of me. So that's been a new development. I'm not sure where that's coming from. I've hit my bug report a few times. Obstacle aware acceleration will slow your vehicle down if it's obstructed. What we really think this is about is this is Tesla's answer to people thinking the car is in reverse and being in their garage and pounding on the go pedal. We'll talk about phantom braking in a minute, Angela. So somebody's pounding on the go pedal to back out of the garage and the car's really in drive. It's not going to stop you from hitting the front of your garage. But what it will do is reduce the acceleration. So if you're heavy on the pedal, it's going to slow you down. You're still going to hit something, but you're not going to hit it as hard. Anything to add to that, Jeff? Is that?
No, for the sun acceleration, not really. I've seen it pop up when I'm at a Cars and Coffee and there's a person standing in front of you. And, you put it in gear. I've been showing the FSD screen and people are walking around the car and it says, obstacle detected. So it works for walls and people, but don't count on it catching those the curbs in the Target parking lot. Yep. It will probably try and drive over that.
Got it. Okay. We have some other standard safety features in here. We have a side collision warning. Again, warnings don't take corrective action. They just let you know that you need to take corrective action. There's a big difference there. So a side collision warning will warn you of an obstacle or vehicle that's approaching you from the side. Blind spot monitoring, which I think Tesla needs to do some work on this one. But blind spot monitoring, you'll see if you put your turn signal on and you're going to make a lane change and there's something there on the center screen, it's going to give you a dotted red line. And if it's a vehicle on the screen, the vehicle that's in your blind spot is going to show up in red. For my taste, that's a real problem, because if you're making a lane change going to your left, the last thing you're looking at is your center screen on the right. So you're looking at your side view mirror, and if a car's in your blind spot and you don't see it, you're not going to know that it's there. So I think they need some work on that. Lots of other cars have put blind spot monitoring in the side view mirrors themselves. I mean, I think that somewhere down the road, they're going to have to address that. Lane departure avoidance. So this is something you can enable or disable on your car. It will track your lane lines, and if you're starting to drift out of lane, even when auto steer is not active, because that's really the only time you would drift out of your lane, it's going to start to nudge the car back into lane. So, and you can set this to be either a warning, or if you don't like the nudge, just turn it off. Personally, I keep it off. I mean, I drive on back roads. I cross yellow lines on some of these turns sometimes, all the time, and I don't need the car telling me that I'm crossing the line. I know it. On the other hand, emergency lane avoidance is actually a much more extreme version of lane departure. This is where the car is leaving its lane and the car decides there's a risk of a collision, a crowded lane or into oncoming traffic. Your car will steer itself back where it belongs. You don't turn this off. This is on by default. I mean, you actually have the ability to turn it off for a particular drive, but when you get back in the car again, after you turn it off and back on again, it will be on again. So it's always on by default. And this is probably something you should leave on by default. So any questions about those safety features? Let's see, Travis has a question in here. Does any,
I got to it, John. I mean, yeah.
okay. I mean, you can just come off mute and answer them, Jeff.
Yeah,
I got background noise here, so I'm going to stay on mute.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, okay, you got it.
yeah. I don't know. What I had noticed was I try to have it engaged, and I've tried a couple of different settings in there. And on some of the roads where I know there's clear lanes, I've actually tried to drift over just to see, you know, what does the noise sound like? I'm used to my wife's Subaru with all the dinging and everything, and to see what it's like when it tries to autocorrect. And I've never had it seemingly make a noise or try to steer it or do anything.
How old is your car, Travis? What are you driving?
I just picked up, it's a Model Y. I picked it up June 4th.
Okay. All right. So you've got Tesla Vision in there. You don't have radar.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering if some of those features still, as I understood it, there's some restrictions on a lot of those features yet.
Yeah. I just
Hey, Sean, on a side note, yeah, the newest update, Travis, should fix that. The one that just came out last night, if you received it.
okay.
So you'll get that function now, along with Smart Summon.
Okay, that fixed my Sentry mode, but I have not tried the lane departure or anything. So,
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give that a try. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, make sure it's enabled. I know for a fact it's worked. It surprised me. Actually, when I first got my car, my car's a year old. My Y is a year old today. But when I got this car, it was engaged when I was driving home, and it actually nudged me back in the lane. It was like, and I go, what the hell? You know, there's some grab my steering wheel. So I know that it works. So the only thing I can think of is that I think things are still going to be a little erratic as they get Tesla Vision settled down. Let's see, was there anything else in here? Yeah, there probably is a minimum speed, but I'm thinking it's pretty low, Natalia. I think it's more like in the 20 or 25 mile an hour range, because I've definitely had it correct me in a lane at doing about 40 miles an hour. So I've used it on side roads. Okay,
And if I'm not wrong, it's active whether autopilot is engaged or not.
that is correct. Yeah,
It's
you
a
have,
nice,
you
it's a
have,
nice safety feature.
yeah, it is, but you have to turn that off if you want that off. You can't turn off emergency lane departure, but you can turn off lane avoidance, lane departure avoidance. That's something that you set as the driver. And you can also set it to be a chime and just give you a warning versus being active. I don't know if it vibrates the steering wheels in 3 and Y. I know it did it in my S, but I'm not sure about 3 and Y.
It's one of the options, I think. Yeah, you can have it just annoy and just tell you that it's doing something, or actively correct. It's like 3 settings.
Got it. Okay.
But interesting observation with the newer cars that don't have radar enabled, that there might be something else going on. So I guess it's something that we should watch.
Yes. Yeah, I know what, it's changing almost, on a daily basis, what it can do and what it can't do. So, yeah, I would just give it time. It's going to take a couple of weeks, I think, for all that dust to settle on that. Okay, autopilot limitations, or full self-driving limitations. First of all, again, we have to reiterate that full self-driving is not really full self-driving. We have a hardware package that should be capable of getting to level 5 autonomy. The software is still catching up to that. And there's still a huge amount of testing and validation that's going to have to take place before anybody's going to declare that our vehicles are autonomous. In a lot of ways, we are the beta testers. Every time we drive our car, we use FSD. Even when we don't use FSD, Tesla's collecting data from all of our vehicles so we can learn more about how to correctly function as an autonomous vehicle. So there are several limitations that kind of complicate that journey. First of all, autopilot requires visibility. Cameras and sensors have to be clean and unobstructed. If you've got bad weather, that decreases your visibility. That's going to affect whether or not you can be using FSD. And it can affect all your autopilot functions or just the navigate on autopilot functions. This little warning right here, I get almost every time it rains. If I'm on a highway and the windshield wipers start going, 2 seconds later, I get poor weather detected and my navigate on autopilot becomes unavailable. Now, in this particular case, and in most of my cases, you'll notice that auto steer, however, is still active. And you know that because the lane lines is illuminated in blue. If you're on navigate on autopilot, remember, you've got that single blue line going up the center of the lane in the front of your car. I actually, my daughter has a Subaru Elizabeth, and it's very similar about that. Okay, so reduced visibility warnings that you may actually encounter. You may get auto lane change unavailable. It may tell you that NOA is unavailable, like I said, because of bad weather. You may get a message about a pillar, a left door, or right door pillar camera being blocked or blinded. That also can affect your ability to use the FSD functions. Okay, so it may not be apparent to you, but if in this picture, especially in the wintertime when the sun is low in the sky, your left door pillar camera in this vehicle is being blocked by the sun. And this is a common occurrence, and you'll get that, and then your first instinct is there's something wrong with my car. But there isn't. Something is blocking or blinding a camera, and your car is actually trying to be safe. If you try to initiate a lane change into the left lane in the vehicle whose picture we're looking at here, that camera is going to be blind. It's not going to know whether there's other vehicles over there. So anything that affects visibility can impair your autopilot functions. Okay, so your troubleshooting steps, the first thing is wait, see if it goes away. If your car changes position, all of a sudden it comes back, it was the sun blinding a camera or something like that. If you're not on a highway and put the car in park, give it a chance to reset itself, make sure that your cameras are clean. If the problem doesn't go away in a short period of time, schedule service. Condensation, and this is a big one, especially during the seasons where there are big temperature changes between evening and during the day. When that happens, we will frequently get condensation on our side cameras. You actually don't clean the, good question, Elizabeth is asking, how do you clean the cameras? When the cameras actually are not accessible to you, except for, I guess, the side marker cameras might be. But I would just take a microfiber towel and just wipe them. That's all you need to do. On the pillow cameras, you actually can't get to the cameras. Yeah, thumb on the rear camera. Absolutely. I do that all the time too. But strangely enough, when we're using full self-driving, the rear camera is not engaged. It doesn't use the rear camera as part of the package. So the rear camera can be blocked and it wouldn't affect your autopilot functions. But things like this pillow camera here, the condensation is under the plastic. And so there's nothing you can really do about that. But on the regular cameras, yeah, just use the thumb, microfiber towel, any of those things will, there you go. Hey, there's a side, Jeff's holding one up. Yep.
Coming off mute, I had to have, they replaced one at service. This one was throwing some fault. So I said, oh, give it back to me. So, I mean, you can obviously just like hit it with your finger to get schmutz off there or whatever.
Yep. Okay, so if your fogging persists for a long period of time on the side pillow cameras, again, they're not hermetically sealed. Usually they'll go away if the car's parked in the sun or you start driving, it starts getting some airflow through there. It'll usually clear it out fairly quickly. If it persists, then you may have a leak problem, and in that case, you'll need to call service. Now, for you old timers out there that still have radar, I can't believe we're old timers now. But if you still have radar, you need to keep the front bumper clear for the radar to work properly. So slush and snow are not your friends if you want your autopilot functions to be working. The best thing that we found to use is Rust-Oleum Never Wet top coat. Never use the base coat. You see the red line through that? If you put the base coat on, it'll never come off. So always only use the top coat, and that puts like a little haze on your bumper. And when you're done with whatever is going on, you can just wipe it off. Okay, phantom braking. I know somebody asked about the whip, and see, I just went right by it. So I know. What was that?
You click too fast.
Well, I just moved my mouse too quick. I forget who asked, but somebody asked. There we go, Angela. Gotcha. Okay, Angela. Yes, phantom braking can happen basically for a couple of reasons, but the most common are shadows, and I always find I have problems with overpasses. So in this particular picture, the shadow from that pickup truck can cause a phantom braking situation for you because the car is going to see the change in the road and thinks it's an obstacle. So it could engage phantom braking. The other problem in this picture is if we look at the overpass down the road, we're on an elevated section of the highway. So from where we are right now, that overpass looks to the car like it's on our level. And so I have found phantom braking to engage when I'm approaching an overpass from this direction, where I'm going down into the overpass. I found there are times when it will phantom brake. On a couple of occasions, I've noticed that it sees a phantom, what it thinks is a stop sign and isn't a stop sign. And since I have stop sign control on, there'll be a red square sign off on the side of the road. I know the one place that I go by all the time, and it's got a red square sign. I know the car's going to brake every time I go by there. We don't know the answer to whether Tesla Vision is going to improve that or not, quite frankly.
Hey, John.
Yes, Spence.
It's Spence here. So without the radar, I have not had any phantom braking on the highway with shadows at all. The only time I've had.
How new is your car?
I got it in June. It was made in May, March, I think.
Yep.
So I haven't had any of that phantom braking. I only had one instance where off the right-hand side, there was a road that connects and the stop sign was turned and it saw the stop sign off of the right-hand side and like slammed on the brakes because I thought I ran a stop sign. But with shadows and bridges, no issues.
Yep. And Travis is saying the same in the chat.
Yep.
Travis says a June Model Y, I think I heard it say. So I've listened to some tech talks with Andrew Karpathy, the guy who runs Tesla's Autopilot and full self-driving stuff, and they feel very confident that the removal of radar will greatly improve this. We have 2 data points here in the group. I have a 2018 Model 3 with radar. Even with the beta software, I still get phantom braking from time to time. But we'll see if that improves when we get the next version. There's a whole big thing where they're changing the software to remove radar as a sensor.
Yeah.
So I'll let John continue with the talk unless there's questions.
Yeah, I was going to add to what Jeff just said there. Listening to some of the conversation about this also, one of the issues that apparently they've been running into is, what do you do when the radar says one thing and the camera says something else and they don't agree? And I think they've been pointing that out as part of the reason that they've been struggling so much with this, because they haven't been able to come up with a reasonable way for the car to make a decision. And that could be related to phantom braking issues, where it's getting 2 different messages and the car doesn't know which one to react to. So I'm also very cautiously optimistic that eliminating radar in the equation may be exactly what we need to resolve some of these issues. Okay. Any other questions on phantom braking? Natalia is saying that she has experienced phantom braking with a June Model Y. That's interesting. So maybe it's not all gone yet. Maybe you guys just haven't hit the right circumstances, but we'll see where that ends up.
Hey, John, on phantom braking real quick again, maybe it depends on what version was out, because the version that I had previous, it looked like it was only released to a couple hundred people at first. Right after I got mine, I got an updated version. I forget what it was, but when you looked at the stats, it wasn't released to everybody. So that might have been the case as well.
Yeah, that's certainly, again, all this at this point is kind of speculation. I mean, we know that Tesla is going to be working on the problem. They're certainly well aware of the phantom braking issue. And hopefully the direction they're going in, eliminating the radar, is going to resolve that issue for everybody. But we'll wait and see. Phantom braking, I mean, just to clarify, I mean, I can drive my car for months and not have any phantom braking issues. And then all of a sudden I'll be on a highway and it pops up. So again, just, wow, really? June? That's the same as my car, Renee. And you've never had phantom braking, do you? Well, maybe I'll add to this that 95% of the time when I'm driving, I have full self-driving engaged. It's rare that I ever drive anywhere without full self-driving engaged.
I was just going to say it's funny to even say this, but like what Spence was saying is like, it feels like we're still in kind of early days with this stuff. So this radar was removed within the last month. So, things are still changing pretty fluidly. And I believe what Scott's saying is true. Is, you could have a car that was delivered without radar, but you might have an old firmware version on. So, we should probably wait, like John said, a few more weeks for things to kind of settle out.
Yep.
The way that the firmware rolls out is sporadic.
Yes, to say the least. But somehow there seems to be a method to their madness. Okay, so where are we going? Well, first of all, the FSD computer that we have in our cars is actually capable of something called trajectory projection and 4D data continuity. Now, what that really means is that the computer just can't see things. It has to be able to accurately label what it's seeing. It's got to know the difference between our example there, a dog running into the road and a plastic bag floating on the road require different responses, and the car needs to be able to differentiate between those objects. So the computer also needs to remember what's been going on, not only what's going on at the present, but it's got to recognize what happened in the last frame of the event while it's processing the new frame of the event and getting ready to process the next frame of the event. Because driving, again, is a sequence of continuous events. It's not just a discrete moment in time. So there's a lot going on to make this work properly. We've got the hardware in place. The Tesla's FSD computer is really an amazing achievement. And it's got all the capabilities that you can imagine we would need to do this. We've just got to kind of get the software to catch up to all that.
I don't remember where we are in the presentation here, but before you go on, I'll just kind of reinforce what John just said about this vision business. So I've been using the full self-driving beta software since December. We've gotten some updates, but I'm in this limited group that can speak about this socially. You know, I can post on Twitter and Facebook and stuff and talk to you guys about it. I have a non-disclosure, but it's, you know, I can speak about it. Amongst this little group that I'm in, you know, we have a chat going on the side, and we share our experiences, and I firmly believe that it's using a lot of the vision and things like John said, you know, like the time of day, where the sun is, if it rained and there's a reflection coming off the road, is a car parked on the side of the road, you know, blocking some sign. These are all factors, and the software is evaluating this in real time, just like our brains do. So it's kind of like a little bit of chaos, and the computers are dealing with this. So, you know, you can drive through the same area 10 times and have 10 different outcomes. So that was just an aside.
It's a good aside.
Go ahead. We're
absolutely. Thank you.
Moving into my area.
Yeah,
here.
we're moving. We're going to be transferring over to Jeff in a second. So in the meantime, the full self-driving beta, which Jeff was just talking about, is in process. It's basically navigate on autopilot for city streets. It enables, actually, Jeff, you can do this, right?
Yeah. Essentially, so I live on a cul-de-sac, and I've seen the little changes even in the few months that I've had it. You know, I put the car in gear in the driveway and it looks normal. You get out into the public street and the visualization that you see at the bottom of the screen just appears. And I've been able to engage it sometimes in the driveway, you know, 10, 15, 20 feet off the street, where it just says, oh, okay, I can do this. The car has this immense confidence that, like, I can just drive and just go. So like John said, I've heard numbers anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 amongst, you know, my little group. We're confident that certainly less than 100 folks all in the United States right now. I don't think this is being tested outside the States, you know, are been able to talk about this. But I don't know, any questions on this slide? I don't think so. And these are pictures that I took. I will correct that. My son took, my videographer took while I was driving. We did a route back in like February up in Central Maryland here. The map in the middle kind of depicts, and it's hard to read the numbers, but you coming from the top of the screen down, it's 1, 2, 3. There's some turns. Somebody in our Facebook group who lives in the area said he navigates this route regularly for work, and the car confidently on regular autopilot navigates turn 1, no problem, misses turn 2 100% of the time. And 3, I just threw into the mix because it's an interesting bend in the road where there's an option to go off the road. I think the next slide is actually the video, right, John?
Yep.
All right, so it starts a little slow. I can kind of narrate over this. So AP is enabled. You see the blue steering wheel comes on. The car kind of centers in the lane. We're going through an intersection, giving direction to my cameraman there. I don't do a lot of these videos. I had an old cell phone, on a phone mount on the glass behind the driver's seat.
Yeah.
It did a.
Travis.
I was hitting. We have a little camera icon on the screen that will actually report data back to Tesla. So going through one of the intersections, it was a flashing yellow, and I think we've probably all experienced that, where the car just sort of jams on the brakes and says, "It's not quite phantom braking. It just doesn't know, is this a traffic signal that I have to respond to?" So this is turn 1. We just went through it. The car turned on the turn signal. My hands are on the wheel, but I'm not doing anything. It navigated turn 1. Hard to see here, but that turn 2 is kind of over the crest of this hill. There is an option on the road to continue straight, but the predominant traffic pattern is to turn left. So if we look closely at the screen, you should see the turn signal. The turn signal's on. My hand is on the wheel. The car slows down and we make the turn. And the video froze.
Ooh.
There it goes. No, I think it's going to go.
There it goes.
So I think what the person was saying that in our Facebook group was saying, his car, and I see thumbs up because you have to reinforce the car and say you did a good job, like patting a dog on the head. And so here's the bonus footage. This is like through a little town. I think we'd go under a train bridge here coming up, and the car stay in its lane. You see there's like some brine, the white lines on the road. So that, like I said, this is in February. I guess we were expecting some snow. It doesn't freak the car out. It just follows the lane lines. We're going under this fairly narrow bridge. Not a problem, but I'm gonna hang on a little bit tighter there. So see ahead, there's some turn arrows here. The car is navigating. I don't have a destination programmed. There was an option to go straight, but the car chose the predominant path. And I'll add, like we've probably heard with the new Model S coming out, Elon has said and tweeted some of these things where like the car will read your mind and it'll just know if you want to drive forward or backwards. Okay, that's take that with a grain of salt, Elon. But what I have noticed, I'll say with the beta software, you can drive without a destination. And what the car will do is follow kind of what John was saying. It's like, even as we're driving, whether autopilot's enabled or not, it's capturing data and sending it back to Tesla for evaluation. We're building pathways like our brains. We're teaching the system. So if 10 people drive through an intersection and 8 of them turn right, it's going to say, well, okay, 80% of the time people turn right here. I've noticed stuff like that. I have a particular way that I come back into my neighborhood. My wife does it one way, I do it another way. And, you know, the first few times I did it, the car wanted to go, you know, like down the main road, turn left across 2 lanes of traffic, whereas I'll, you know, turn earlier where it's an easy pass through a break in the road. And you know, each time I had to basically override, and after some series of iterations it got better, and it's like, okay, well, you've done this, you know, 4 times, I'm going to follow your lead. That has been my experience. So that being said, I've had beta software since December. There were some early iterations where once every other week, every week, we were getting a new version. I think it was Spence or somebody was asking, do I have beta 9? And no. I immediately, like, I have beta software, but it's still like this, they don't give us a specific number, but it's not the one that Elon keeps touting is like better than sliced bread. We should get that in 2 weeks since, yeah, it's been saying 2 weeks since May. So maybe once end of quarter madness is over, and I'm looking at my phone right now, and no, I should get an email before they push a new version. But I mean, like any day now, we think that there could be this new version that would take the radar out. And that means I'll just be driving a lot this weekend, or I'll let the car drive.
And Jeff, they just did the push for the ones that didn't have radar last night for the emergency lane departure, a few other fixes, and smart summon. So maybe that's a bonus.
Yeah, that jives
looks
with what
good.
Elon's tweeting. I think it's hard to, at least in my mind, like, so that would be I guess the production push, right? So like, you know, you guys with the new cars, you get the production version. Then he said there's like a week or 2 lag for the beta testers. So I'm right in there. See what happens.
Yeah, Travis had a question for you, Jeff. With FSD, he was wondering if you get the nag alerts as often.
It's the same frequency. Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like it's speed dependent. When I was commuting, I have a pretty long commute, and I could be in stop and go traffic and not touch the wheel for 5 or 10 minutes because you're just inch. But, you know, on a long road trip, I think we've all seen this, you know, at 70 miles an hour, the car is like, are you paying attention? Are you paying attention? Every, you know, mile, it feels like. Around town, it's the same, you know, in a 35 mile an hour zone, every couple minutes I get the blue bar if I'm not putting enough torque on the wheel. And to be honest, so the very first drive that I took with the beta software, I feel like they tweaked the torque for neighborhoods to be even a little more sensitive, because I've been driving Autopilot for a couple of years at least on my car on the highways, and there's a pretty good amount of play at 55 on the highway where you can sort of give it a little shimmy and you won't take it out of auto steer. Coming out of my neighborhood, it's an older neighborhood. There's cars parked on the street all over the place. So the car, there's a car parked. My turn looked like it was gonna really close to the car's bumper, so I just kind of gripped the wheel a little bit harder, and it disengaged auto steer. So yeah, it's all the safety stuff is still active. Question here.
Yeah, you got that?
I'm going to read it. Learning preferences. So good point. Like I said, I haven't gotten an official firmware version update for something like, it's over 100 days. So like March was the last time that we got a beta software update. But I have noticed behavior changes in the car. And what I mean by that is, so there's a section of road that I drive regularly. It's 4 lanes, 2 in each direction, around a shopping center. So I'm a typical, I get in the right-hand lane and let everybody who's gonna, turn into the shopping center do their thing, and I just want to keep going straight. But the car kind of notices, either through the shadow mode, and what the 95% of other people do is they get in the left lane. As I'm driving in the beta software, puts the blinker on. I'm going to get in the left lane. No, there's a car over there. I'm going to stay here in the right lane. I know they're going to slow down. They're going to go into the shopping center. I'm going to stay in the right lane. So I get in this constant battle with the car, like turn the blinker off, turn the blinker off, turn the blinker off. And I normally just give up and just turn the software off and drive it myself. Last week was the first time ever since December where I drove this section of road, and there weren't a lot of people on the road. And it just, like I would have done, it stayed in the right-hand lane, and it went past the shopping centers, and I didn't have to fight it at all. So there are toggles. Something Tesla, whether the software engineers are doing it deliberately or through updates that happen on the back end of the servers in California, we're getting tweaks. They don't tell us anything specific, but I notice differences.
That's really interesting. Did that?
Yeah.
I think that answered your question there, Bob. Okay, so any other questions for Jeff on that?
Yeah, if I could follow up just a little bit on that question, John and Jeff.
Sure. Bob.
I was hearing that the car is learning your preferences, and if you have another person who is driving and has a profile set up on your car, do you think it's going to pick up preferences by person, by profile?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I missed that. The second part of your question. I don't know about driving style, but I can say confidently, my wife doesn't drive my car that often, but after I got the software, she was driving and said, I don't like the way this is. And we just went into the settings, and it's a toggle, just like everything else. You can turn the beta software off, and ever since she drives it, she doesn't get any of the visualizations. She doesn't get any of the the nags. So that stuff is all configurable. Whether it's I might be the one, like at the stoplight, I'm going to accelerate through this intersection a little faster than somebody else. I don't know. I haven't noticed if it picks up on that stuff, but it certainly is aware of profile. It's profile aware. I think that was your main question, right?
Yep. Okay, so if going forward, where are we now? I mean, right now we're on above this line. We've got Navigate and Autopilot, smart summon functions in place. Where we want to be is kind of where Jeff is kind of testing right now, which is get in your car at home, tell her you're going somewhere, and have to minimally intervene in that process. Is that an accurate description, Jeff?
Yeah, and this is usually the point where, and I think I saw some questions in the chat, like, do you need full self-driving? And having used the software for a while now, Autopilot's really good. There was an early slide where John had the enhanced Autopilot, and people have rumored that maybe that will make a comeback. That's where you get you can change lanes on the highway. There was another.
You get
something significant.
Yeah.
Summon, yeah. Summon's a nifty party trick. If it works, great. You know, I tried to use it one time when it was raining. Like, hey, come fetch me from the curb at the movie theater because it's raining and I don't want to run across the parking lot. And it didn't quite make it. But enhanced autopilot with the lane change is really nice for long trips and stuff, where you just sort of like meandering around cars. Full self-driving, and this is where like I'll sort of make a distinction. Is it worth $10,000? Probably not. But I did find I talked to somebody. You know, we go to a lot of cars and coffees. I think John was at the same one. Person had a Chevy Bolt. He says, "Oh, you're a Tesla guy. I could never drive a Tesla because you have that screen on the right-hand side, and I have a vision deficiency in my right eye." And I said, "Well, then, I hear what you're saying, but like some of these automated features would probably help. They at least take the edge off, where the car is aware and you can navigate from destination to destination." A little easier, peace of mind. So that's my 2 cents.
Yep.
Everybody has to make their own value judgments.
Yeah, and I think it might become an easier decision if they go to a subscription model, and I believe that that's coming also, because then you're not going to have that big upfront expense. So I mean that might change things. So that is our presentation. What we're going to do is when I stop sharing the screen, we're just going to open the floor to questions, and we can just chat about this stuff as long as you guys have some things you want to talk about. It is the time when I plug the club. So if you haven't joined a local owners club, yeah, that's a great question, Elizabeth. As soon as I stop sharing my screen, we'll talk about that. So anyway, I really highly encourage people to join your owners club. You guys have a great club in Maryland. I know we have a couple of Maryland folks on here. Be sure to join them. If you live in Pennsylvania, make sure that you join the Pennsylvania club. We work very closely with the Maryland guys, and we share all our classes, and all these workshops basically are a combination between the two organizations. So yeah, we want to encourage you to do that, because that helps us keep doing this. And it also means when we go to deal with Tesla on stuff, it's a lot different when we've got 500 members versus 150. So that gives us a little more clout with them, and that helps us help you. So thank you for being here tonight for that. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to stop